KwaZulu-Natal Department of Public Works and Infrastructure says it has now successfully released payments to the value of 375 million rand. The department says the payment reduced the amounts owed to service providers and municipalities to 169 million rand. A lot of numbers here. Let's check in with Newzroom Afrika's Nobuhle Modise, who attended the department's briefing. She joins us live. Nobuhle, just give us, let's take a few steps back. Give us an outline of where the story begins.
A very good afternoon, Michelle. So we know that there's been a couple of stalled projects within the KwaZulu-Natal province, and this is within many different departments, the education department, including health, and many of those were unable to continue because contractors were not paid the money that was due to them. And we also know that the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure also had a backlog of payments that went back as far as 5 years when Martin Meyer was speaking earlier, and even just last week when he spoke at that briefing with Premier Tamintuli, he mentioned the fact that they have inherited quite a number of issues from previous administrations, and this is why it has taken this long to ensure that contractors and service providers are paid. But we now know that an amount of 374 million rand has been disbursed and contractors have been paid. And what the MEC also mentioned was the fact that they are now able to ensure that contractors are paid within the 30 days as obligated by the department. We also know that they've also been able to clear some of the municipal debt, which amounted to around 1.5 billion rand, even though Treasury only gave them around 1 billion. There is a shortfall there for around 500,000 rand. But saying that this is good news, as they are now able to ensure that they're able to pay the leases of the many departments under them, as well as just to ensure that contractors and service providers are able to continue with work. And we know that work at different projects that have been stalled will now continue. We're not knowing when, but most of them and many of them will continue. Also, the issue you'd remember of the construction mafia, where a lot of projects in the past were stalled because of the construction mafia. But we know that now some of the projects that have been stalled in the province are as a result of non-payment, which has now been sorted out, Michelle.
Yeah, and I suppose, 375 million rand has now been paid, but what about that 169 million rand? And what's the deadline on that?
So what the MEC has said is that that shortfall will be paid in the 2025-2026 financial year. And unfortunately, that is the way it's going to be because of the budget that comes from Treasury. But they are quite certain and confident that they won't have any issues in terms of, contractors that are responsible for projects stopping any work that needs to be done. We know that they've insured them, and they've also issued out letters to them explaining to them why it is that their payments were not done on time. So they are saying that those payments that haven't been done will spill over into the next financial year end.
Nobuhle, just some context to the story. We know how important KwaZulu-Natal is and just the extent of the infrastructure challenges faced by the province, given a whole range of issues, but particularly climate change and the impact of rainfall and flooding. If this isn't something the department is able to get under control, ultimately what it means is that residents continue to suffer, and when the next disaster comes, the province will be even less prepared.
You are correct, Michelle, indeed. Critical infrastructure that needs upgrading. We know that in terms of roads, for example, 30 contractors had stopped work, and that is quite, surprising, especially because we know that the Transport Department had also said that they made sure that payments are done. But those roads are either roads that are being constructed newly or roads that are being rehabilitated, and they are important roads that lead, to the main roads. And if those roads are not fixed, then they will be a problem. I mean, even in terms of the education department, where we also know during that briefing, he announced that there were 7 contractors who will be, stopped because of doing shoddy work. Those contractors will not be allowed to do any work from here on with the state. And it's contracts like these where in education and critical infrastructure that suffer the most, because in the education department, there are schools that are being upgraded or even being built, and those projects being being stopped ultimately affect the residents and the children in those communities who depend on those schools for education.
Education, healthcare, general service delivery. Nobuhle Modise, live to us in KwaZulu-Natal. Thanks very much for that update.